press present. Okay. Hi, I'm Taylor.
I'm Annika.
And we did our project on tidal energy. And tidal energy is a form of hydropower that converts the energy of tides into electricity or other useful forms of power. The tide is created by the gravitational effect of the sun and moon on the earth, causing cycles of movement on the seas, which we should know. So how does it work? Tidal energy is found in bodies of water, primarily coastlines, but also tidal streams and lagoons, though they do have to be in an area with the correct geology for the generators. To extract the energy, turbines in barriers or lagoons generate electricity as tide floods into the reservoir or a coastline. And so water thus is retained and then can be released through turbines and then generating electricity once the tide is outside the barrier. So the sea currents created by the movement of the tides are often magnified, where water is forced to flow through narrow channels or around headlands. And then it is distributed through a infrastructure of basic building facilities and installations that are required to develop tidal energy. And then a tidal power plant is where the power is specifically distributed to homes. Can you go to the next one? So to make the energy, large underwater turbines are placed in areas with high tidal movements, and they are designed to capture the kinetic motion of the ebbing and surging of ocean tides in order to produce electricity. So the first type of generator is a barge. It creates energy by the change of the tides. And so there's the picture kind of explaining how it works. And then another one is tidal fences. Whereas water flows through, the tidal fence is spun. And then the last one is a tidal turbine, which is basically like the wind turbines, but underwater.
Okay, so next let's look at the science of tidal energy. So tidal energy can only work if there's a sufficient difference between the low tide and the high tide. Tides occur because of the gravitational pull of the moon and the sun. They pull the water towards them, which creates a high tide. Areas that are facing the sun or moon have a high tide, and those facing neither have a low tide. An area must have both a large high tide and a small low tide to produce tidal energy. There are very few areas on Earth that have enough of a tidal difference, with France being the main proprietor of this type of energy. This is because there has to be enough water moving to spin the underwater propellers. Similar to the process of a windmill, the mechanical energy is then converted into a usable form.
Okay, usage. As Annika said before, France is probably the main place that tidal energy is used. You can see in the global resources image that some of the main countries that use it are France, Canada, South America, New Zealand, Australia, and all the other places on there. Oh, and then usage facts. Focusing on the blue part, which is tidal energy, while green is wave energy, you can see that UK actually produces a lot of it, and then France is only using tidal energy. And then focusing on the United States in the second graph, California, Washington, and Alaska are the three main creators or generators of tidal energy on the Pacific Ocean, or like the West Coast. And then for the East Coast, Massachusetts and Maine are the main generators.
Okay, so next we'll go over the environmental impacts of tidal energy. Although this form of energy doesn't create any pollution, it does harm ecosystems. Large tidal barrages can make it hard for migrating fish. Also, spinning turbines can injure animals and fish. They have each created a significant impact on the environment in their own way, with erosion, silting, and ecological problems all linked to them. And then let's look at the economics. This form of energy is also very expensive to install. This is the main reason why it isn't very popular today. Although it's expensive to install, once created, these mechanisms are very inexpensive and easy to maintain. So here's a basic summary of tidal energy, and then we can go over the pros and cons. So the case for tidal power is that people would choose tidal power over other energy sources because of its reliability and the effects on the environment. When a suitable site has been found and established, tidal power is more predictable than wind and fluctuates less drastically than solar insolation. For those looking for a better alternative for renewable energy, tidal may be a good choice, as it doesn't produce any air, water, or thermal pollution because it just uses the tide's power. Also, once built, there are virtually no costs associated with the production of electricity. Once a dam, barrage, or tidal fence is built, the energy production is free since tidal power harnesses the natural power of tides, and it doesn't require the transport of fuels or disposal of waste products. And the case against tidal power. Appropriate sites for building a tidal power plant are scarce globally, particularly sites with a nearby requirement for electricity, which would save on transport or storage costs. There are only two existing large tidal barrages in the world today, one in France and the other in Canada. Thus, there are very few examples to prove to people the good of tidal energy. Tidal power can also have a significant effect on local biodiversity, just as a large dam across a river does, with the possibility of significant silt buildup because of the reduced tidal flow. It can block the migratory patterns of fish and harm other wildlife with the propellers. Also, many are wary of the initial costs of tidal power as it is very expensive. Finally, there are also legal concerns regarding underwater land rights. Tidal energy's main competitor is wind energy. Although it produces more energy more consistently than wind, it is hard to economically install. And if you want more information on tidal energy, you can go to the link below. And here is our bibliography.
Yeah, thank you. That's all.